I feel like I have won the lottery. That's how I feel today, looking back on all of my experiences, because I should not have made it this far. The circumstances that we grew up in, nothing would lead you to believe that, okay, you're going to make it to the investment bank, you're going to get an MBA, CFA, and manage multi-billion-dollar portfolios, because that is not the path.
Welcome everyone to a new episode of The Blunt Dollar. Today's guest is Chris Thompson, a former high-yield portfolio manager, CFA charter holder, and impact investor who now coaches finance pros to reclaim agency over their career. Chris grew up in inner-city Brooklyn, navigating violence, food stamps, and the kind of odds that don't show up in economic models.
There is a head coach, but every professional athlete has their own positional coach, someone who's working with them on a specific craft. They also have a dietitian, physical therapy. They have coaches supporting their greatness. And so having a plan is the final part of this MVP framework, becoming the MVP of your own life.
This is The Blunt Dollar with Ignacio Ramirez. Quick disclaimer, the views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the speakers and do not constitute financial investment or legal advice. This content is for informational and educational purposes only and should not be relied upon as a substitute for professional advice. Always do your own research and consult a qualified advisor before making any financial decisions. All investments involve risk, including the potential loss of capital. And now, let's get started with the episode. Welcome everyone to a new episode of The Blunt Dollar. Today's guest is an amazing guest. You're going to love this episode. What if I told you that your journey to Wall Street could actually start in an auto shop in Brooklyn? What would you think? Well, today's guest is Chris Thompson, a former high-yield portfolio manager, CFA charter holder, and impact investor who now coaches finance pros to reclaim agency over their career, amongst other things, as we'll be talking about. But that title doesn't really tell his whole story. Chris grew up in inner city Brooklyn, raised by a single mother, navigating violence, food stamps, and the kind of odds that don't show up in economic models. And he didn't start at a target school. He started at Automotive High School, training to be a mechanic. And yet, through great vision and a relentless hunger to grow, he climbed into the marble corridors of JP Morgan and eventually led a $2 billion impact investing portfolio at one of the largest institutional investors in the country. Then he walked away. In this episode, we'll hear about what he did after that, and we'll dive into how grief shaped Chris' leadership, why he thinks too many finance professionals still feel stuck in career purgatory, and what it really takes to reinvent yourself. We talk about coaching purpose and what Wall Street can learn from elite athletes. This is a conversation about transformation, raw, unscripted, and deeply personal. Chris, I'm incredibly excited to have you on the show. Welcome to The Blunt Dollar.
Oh, wow. Ignacio, that sounded amazing. Can you say it again for me one more time? No, it's an honor to be here with you. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's really special. I loved watching all of your work from all of your messages and podcasts. And so I feel very honored to be part of your lineup here. So thank you.
Listen, it's absolutely amazing to have you on the show. When I heard your story, I thought it had to be shared. And I always like to start with the same question because I talked a lot in the intro about your previous roles, but maybe we should start talking about what is it that you're doing today? And you're doing a lot of stuff, I know.
The main thing I enjoy the most that gives me purpose is that I'm a husband and a dad. I have two young kids, two boys, Mac and Declan. And the reason why I talk about that is because I had a lot of disruption, a lot of uncertainty in my family life growing up. Like I lost my dad when I was a baby. I lost my mom in my early 20s. And so I always envisioned of what a awesome, stable family life could look like. And so that was always the dream for me personally, like one of the dreams I had for myself. And so to fast forward 40 years later and to have that today, like that is the main thing that gets me excited, that gets me motivated. But there are other things that I do professionally as well that certainly fall in line with my personal life at home. One of those things you mentioned coaching, so executive coaching. Last year, I launched an executive coaching platform mainly for finance professionals because of a lot of the challenges and experiences that I went through. And I just recognized the need for targeted, specific mentoring and coaching because my real story and progression and success was as a result of the coaching and mentorship that I received. And so I wanted to just do that in a more meaningful way. So that's something that I think I've actually always done that throughout my entire career, just looking back at maybe younger students who are from my alma mater who need a helping hand or need to see someone who went to a school like them and give some advice. So I've always been doing that, but I decided to do it in a more meaningful, professional way. And that dovetails really nicely with my also passion, which is impact investing.
Mhm.
And you might think, how is impact invested related to executive coaching? To me, it's one and the same because they are both rooted in service to others. When
Mhm.
I'm coaching an individual, I'm giving some specific guidance or motivation or some feedback that helps them uplift themselves. When I'm thinking about impact investing, when I'm investing in a community, it's using capital to invest in a way that helps that community uplift itself. And so to me, both things I'm quite attracted to because of my own personal experiences in life, but they really go hand in hand for me because I see the through line to both of those. So that's currently what I'm doing. I'm an impact investor professionally in my, I would say, my day job, but I'm also an executive coach and something that I enjoy doing and helping to give back to others.
I love how you tied those two things, coaching and impact investing. Where is it that you're working exactly as an impact investor? If you want, you can tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, I'm at Heron Foundation. We are a private foundation. We are focused on investing in poor rural areas across the United States. And
Mhm.
so it could be things like affordable housing, community development, small business, really looking to these rural areas that have been overlooked, underserved, but are really the heartbeat of the U.S. And so we want to be placing capital in ways that helps these communities uplift to get these type of resources that they currently struggle with.
Wow, amazing. Well done. Looks like an absolutely amazing job to have. And we'll dig a little bit more into that later on. But I want to go to the roots. I want to go to the beginning because you didn't grow up thinking about spreadsheets. I'm sure Chris, when he was like 7 years old, he was not that much into Excel. And I mean, from what I've read, from the stuff that you've put out on social media and on your newsletter, you were kind of, you grew up thinking about how to keep the lights on, really, and
Mhm.
that kind of upbringing kind of rewires you, I guess, and maybe prepares you for high stakes environments such as finance in other way that other textbooks could or never could actually. So my question for you is, what did growing up in Brooklyn in this survival mode teach you about risk and decision making in finance?
Wow, risk. I, that's a great question because every day you could meet a risky encounter or meet a violent outcome. So that neighborhood I grew up in Crown Heights in Brooklyn in the 80s. New York City in general was just a
Hmm.
wild place. If you go back to the 60s, 70s, and whatnot. But my neighborhood in particular, I'm first generation American. So my family is Jamaican. They moved to
Hmm.
England. Everyone settled in England, but we were in pursuit of the American dream. So in the 80s, everyone moved to Brooklyn, and Crown Heights is sort of this cultural melting pot. You have a large Caribbean community. You have a large Hasidic Jewish population. You
Hmm.
have other things mixed in. So it's a very vibrant and culturally diverse neighborhood, but it's also very separate. So that was interesting experience to see as I was growing up. Not a lot of resources in my community, not a lot of hope, not a lot of paths for success. There was some violence that you had to just be aware of. Thankfully, I never really got involved in anything too crazy, but you still need to walk to school, for example. You still need to be out in the world. And
Hmm.
while I wasn't really running with the wrong crowds, I wasn't mixed up in difficult situations. Sometimes you can't help but avoid them because it would just be presented to you through no
Hmm.
fault of your own. And so there are many times that I was afraid for my life, afraid for my safety, being held up in gunpoint, knife point, being beat up, jump, all of these things. And what's interesting, Ignacio, I would talk to other friends who grew up in different parts of Brooklyn, and different people had different versions of a similar story. You're just trying to navigate this environment that can feel unsafe. My neighborhood was also very beautiful. I talked about the diversity of the people, the
Hmm.
diversity of experiences. And so it was a great experience to live and grow up in Brooklyn, but we couldn't wait to get out, mainly because we were trying to look for better opportunity, trying to escape some of that violence. I fast forward now, I tell people where I'm from in Brooklyn, they're like, well, I can't wait to move there. I would love to live there, but it's so expensive. And so that neighborhood has gone through transformation, which is remarkable to see. It is not an affordable place to live now, which I never would have thought of when I was growing up. But we were constantly thinking of ways we could improve our situation, improve our life. And so
Mm.
I decided to learn a trade. My parents were big on education. My mom was very big on education. My grandparents as well, focus on school. So I always had that deep desire to learn and to grow that way. But
Hmm.
sometimes you don't see what those opportunities are because they don't exist. So vocational training at Automotive High School was the way for me because it was a way I could continue to learn, be enrolled in a regular school program, but get a trade. And my
Mm.
thought was, okay, if I can become a mechanic, this is a safe, respectable profession. I can earn legitimate income as quickly as possible just to help my family. So that was the path I was on, to become a mechanic. And it was a great path to be on. There's nothing wrong with being a mechanic, but that my worldview was so limited because we didn't have any resources. So what was the best thing, the best outcome, the best path for me was vocational training at Automotive High School.
So, well, two things. First of all, I think it's pretty cool how the same way you grew up through education and managed to have that dream life that you wanted as a kid. Also, Brooklyn in its own way, I guess. Now, you were saying now the place where you grew up, now you cannot even afford it because it's so expensive. Like, it's also
It's
interesting how Brooklyn itself has found its own way and it has grown in a better place. I think it's
uh-huh,
pretty cool.
uh-huh.
Um, but now I want to talk about this trade school to investment banking journey because that's absolutely insane. Like, how did you
Yeah,
make that
yeah.
leap, and what gave you the belief that it was even possible to go from one to the other?
Listen, Ignacio, I feel like I have won the lottery. That's how I feel today, looking back on all of my experiences, because I should not have made it this far. The circumstances that we grew up in, nothing would lead you to believe that, okay, you're going to make it to the investment bank, you're going to get an MBA, CFA, and manage multi-billion-dollar portfolios. Because that is not the path, right? That is
Mm,
not how one would go about uh, positioning themselves to attain that type of success. So it really started out through mentorship and guidance. I told you earlier why these things are important to me, but we'll talk about why specifically. I was going through Automotive High School, training to be a mechanic, had decent grades, and then I met a math teacher.
mhm,
And then I met a business teacher, and they saw something in me that I did not see in myself. Sometimes you need the perspective of others to help guide you to a different path in life. And so during my junior year in high school, you had the option to join a business program. And both of these teachers looked at me and said, "Hey, Chris, you're good at math. You got good, decent enough grades. Why don't you try the business program?" And if you join the business program, that essentially became my major in high school. You could pick the automotive electives and continue to major in automotives, or there was an option to join this business program.
mhm,
So I looked at those two options. I knew how difficult the automotive field. It's backbreaking work. It's respectable work. It's work that I enjoyed. But when you're lifting around an engine block, or you're moving around heavy machinery, or you're dealing with some of the automotive chemicals, and like that is hard work.
mhm,
And there was no question that I was going to work hard, but I thought maybe there's another way. I would look over in this business program. There were kids inside of a room. They had air conditioning. Number one, that's like, that alone was appealing because when you're working in the auto body shop in the summer, it's brutal. But I saw the kids in this business program. Everyone was in a comfortable office chair and everyone was in front of a computer screen. I'm like, what are they doing? They're just staring at the screen all day. I have no idea what this is about. So it was curiosity for sure, the desire to try something different, and having these mentors tell me, you should try this, you would be good at it, because I had this math skill or affinity to numbers. And so I joined the business program. It's called Virtual Enterprise. I joined that in high school. It's essentially you're running a virtual business. There are other high schools within not just New York City, the rest of the US. There's these networks of virtual businesses where um, the kids, you have a CEO, you have a CFO, you have an accounting department, sales and marketing. Everyone needs to pick up the phone and make a virtual sales call to
Hmm.
another school. And so we're buying and selling products to each other, all virtual, but it is teaching you business skill, what it means to be an executive. I was in the accounting department because I just like, okay, I like math, I like numbers, let me try that. Ignacio, it's like someone just turned a switch. That was the ignition that sparked so much of what was to come for me next. I didn't know all these opportunities would fall in line, but that business program allowed me to get my first corporate internship while I was in high school at Time Warner. And
Wow.
then one thing led to another. By the time I graduated high school, I was applying, going to go to college, but learned about an opportunity from JP Morgan. There was an executive named Thomas Lebrecht who started a scholarship program for New York City high school students who showed great promise, but didn't have the financial means to pay for school. And I was blessed to earn that scholarship. The program that Thomas Lebrecht started, I view that as an impact investment into my life because
Hmm.
it just completely changed not just my life, not just what I was doing, but my entire family tree. We've all been better because of that. And that's how I was introduced to my career at JP Morgan.
Wow. Oh my God, that's such a beautiful story. And Lebrecht, did you get the chance to meet him in person?
So this is another sad part of the story. He passed away I forget what year, but I never got a chance to meet him.
Mm.
He passed away from lung cancer. He never smoked a day in his life, but his legacy, the power of this is how I started to understand what it means to give back in a way that's impactful to others. He started this program, the bank continued it. And even though I never got a chance to meet him, many of the Smart Start scholars did not because he passed away too soon.
Hmm.
His legacy just changed so many people's lives, mine included, that I am forever grateful to him, to JP Morgan, and all of the great people that I came through the program with because we kind of supported each other as we were going through different areas of JP Morgan.
Wow. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's incredibly moving. Talking about JP Morgan, I know you have great things to say about the company, but you've also written how when you joined, people would ask if you were an athlete, not a banker, which sounds like a compliment, but underneath, like there's some maybe some
Yeah.
quiet assumption about who belongs and who doesn't.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
How did you navigate those moments of coded doubt, and
Mm.
what did it reveal about maybe not the culture of JP specifically, but about finance in general? Let's put it that way.
Yeah. It was a hard transition, Ignacio. So I'm going from inner city Brooklyn, Automotive High School, to now I'm walking around the bank and people are just looking at me like, who are you?
Mm,
And I know this to be true about myself. I am built like an NFL linebacker. I never played a down of football. We didn't have football growing up in Brooklyn. I played a little bit of basketball. I am quote unquote athletic enough, but sports was not my avenue. It was really academics and just being an excellent student. That was my path. But when people would say things like, well, what team did you play for? Are you a basketball player? Did you play
mm,
football? That instantly triggered my own imposter syndrome because I'm already looking around thinking, well, there's no one else like from my neighborhood or like me, or not a lot, I should say. And when someone would ask that, I could tell it wasn't through malice. It wasn't them being,
mm,
um, trying to put me in a different light. Maybe not consciously, maybe subconsciously, yes. But there was no ill will behind those interactions. But what it was doing to me internally was just like triggering so many feelings and emotions. And so that in many ways just drove me to be even better. And because it was like, well, no, first of all, there's nothing wrong with being an athlete or getting to this spot through athletics. I have a lot of deep respect and appreciation for what athletes have to endure while maintaining an academic schedule. But it felt like they were telling me you didn't belong,
mm,
or you only got here because of athletics.
mhm.
If not for that, then you wouldn't have a place. And so I have friends who are athletes, and they've shared with me like they feel some of those similar emotions as well when people bring up their athletic pursuits. It's like two separate things, but I am here because I'm going to work exceptionally hard, just like you're here.
That's interesting because I am not an athlete, but I see things the other way around. I'm kind of jealous of those athletes. For me, like someone that makes it to the
hmm
same job where I am, but because of their athletic capabilities is like
hmm
a big plus. I'm like, wow, not only this person is incredibly good at whatever sport it is. I
hmm
love golf. So if I met a golf athlete, I would be like completely in admiration. But also like I would know like that person got there because of so many qualities.
Right.
Like you gotta grind, you gotta put in the reps, you're gonna be
hmm
disciplined, you're gonna pull in all nighters or early mornings, or I mean, there's so much sacrifice that comes with
hmm
being an athlete, right? So it's funny
Yep.
because yeah, your perspective and mine are completely different
Right.
on this.
Right.
But of course, um, I'm on the other side, so I guess for me it's easy to say. But wow, yeah, no, it's really really interesting and again very very moving. I think.
Oh no, thanks. And that's why I mentioned there was never any ill intent. I have the benefit of perspective and maturity now. I could look back on it. I was
Mm,
very young at that time. So I'm trying to understand what did they mean by this? And I just had to get out of my own head and just like really sit with myself.
yeah,
So it was triggering some own emotion within me. But I spent some time just to learn and grow to try to overcome those because you can never control what other people say, regardless of their intent.
yeah.
But how am I going to respond to the things that are coming at me? What do I know to be true? It's like I know I
Mm.
worked my ass off to get here, and so that alone, whether or not it was through sports, academics, by any means, I deserve a spot here because I'm here with just like everyone else is here.
Yeah. So you didn't make it because of sports, but clearly from talking to you, listeners will have realized that sports takes a big spot in your life. As you can see in the
hmm
background of Chris's office, there's a bunch of cool sports images. There's like what is it? Michael Jordan and Serena
I
Williams over there.
gotta, yeah, yep.
So it's really really interesting, and I know a lot of your coaching evolves around drawing parallels between the
hmm
sports world and the finance industry. And one concept you talk about is career free agency. um, you've talked about managing your career like a free agent, not just
hmm
reacting to offers but owning your trajectory like a top athlete does in their prime. What does it actually mean to live your career like a free agent, and why is that mindset in your view so rare in finance? Hey there, quick favor to ask. If you enjoy the blunt dollar, the unfiltered takes, the stories, and the laughs, the easiest way to support the show is by tapping that subscribe button right now while you're listening. And here's my promise. If you do, I'll keep bringing you honest conversations, fresh perspectives, and the kind of finance talk that's engaging, insightful, and worth your time. Thanks so much for being here, and let's keep these great finance conversations going.
Yeah, so much goes into that, and if we talk about some of those early interactions I had, starting my career on Wall Street, being confused with an athlete. I used to resent it because it's like, no, I'm not an athlete. I'm an analyst. I'm a finance nerd. Think of me that way. But then
Mm-hmm.
I realized, why am I fighting that? I'm going to own it. And actually, when I thought about all of the things that I had been going through in order to prepare myself for this point in time, like you mentioned, the determination, the grit, I realize I might not be an athlete in the traditional sense, but I am preparing just like an athlete would because I'm getting up 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning. I'm spending extra time after hours. I'm studying for the Charter Financial Analyst, doing all of these things, like the preparation, the training. I'm training like an athlete would to be good at my craft as a financial analyst. And there was something that an early mentor friend, I call him Big Bro. He's like a brother figure to me now. There's something that he said to me very early on in my career, which triggered this free agency type mindset for me. And he said, think of your career like a series of year-to-year contracts.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't about quitting, and free agency isn't about just leaving or moving on to the best thing. It's really about yourself and alignment. A year has gone by. your career is going to be a long-term affair, a long-term endeavor. You're going to do this for um, maybe 30, 40 years if you're lucky. It might be with the same firm, it might not be. But you owe it to yourself, no matter where you are, every year to assess, where am I today? Am I aligned with where I want to go with the vision of my career? And if not, it's time to think about a change. So he told me that. Just think about your series as your career as a series of year-to-year contracts, and just use that to evaluate where you are. And
Mhm.
that helped me realize, okay, athletes in many ways do the same thing. You might sign a long-term contract, but after a year, you enter this free agency period, and you can decide, I'm going to continue to work as hard as I can, no matter what team I play for. But
Yeah.
am I aligned with this group? Is there something else for me that helps me achieve that alignment? Some other team to play for where we can win championships and fulfill my maximum purpose and vision. And so it's really borrowing things that athletes do on a day-to-day basis to excel, to prepare for maximum effort, and borrowing some of that concept and mindset to apply to my individual life. I think we can all learn from that, not just in finance, any industry, but
Mhm.
finance is uniquely suited because every day the market is moving. There are winners, there are losers. And to approach your career, not from that winner loss mindset, but how can I maximize my performance for the time that I'm here? And I think it was powerful for me. So I've been sharing that with others.
Mhm. Yeah, the word that comes to mind where I hear you is being intentional.
Hmm.
Intentionality, like being proactive with your time and where you with your life, and um, having objectives
Hmm.
that you want to work towards. I think that's probably why it works so well.
Hmm.
So a lot of high achievers in finance feel stuck, not
Hmm.
failing, but not super fulfilled either. I know that because I've
Hmm.
spoken to many people and I've read that online. Um, what are the early warning signs that someone's career has maybe hit that cruise control mode, and
Mm.
why they feel stuck, and what usually jolts them awake?
Wow, you're getting heavy here, Ignacio. This
We're
is
going deep, man.
something.
We're going deep.
I love it though, because I've experienced this in my career, and I've talked to others. I know this is this is something that most people will experience, and having guidance, whether that be through a friend, a mentor, a coach, that someone you can talk to, that alone was helpful to me. I had people I can go to share how I was feeling internally. At first, I didn't know what the hell was going on. And it was mainly because I had worked so hard to overcome those earlier challenges in life. And then I finally made it to a level. It's like, wow, I am in these boardrooms. I'm amongst these
Mhm,
executives. I am my compensation. Everything is as I would have dreamed it to be, or beyond my dreams. I couldn't imagine this type of life,
mhm,
but it didn't feel right. It's like, what is going on internally? I'm very grateful and happy for where I am, because I know many people would trade in a heartbeat, but there feels like there's something more. And it's not even about compensation. It was about purpose. And I think what happened to me and what happens to many finance professionals is that we're in this grind, this chase mode. I need to make managing director. I need to make seven figures. I need to do this. I need to do whatever it is, whatever the things are. And then you achieve it. Or maybe even along the way, you realize, well, this isn't my intended direction. This isn't the way I want to go anymore, but I'm on this path. I've come so long, so far. How can I do anything else? I only have this skill set in equities, or I've only covered fixed income, or I've only done derivatives. How could I possibly switch and maybe go to a different asset class, or go to a different firm, or go work at a nonprofit? Because there's this view that you would be giving up all of that you've accrued to that point in time.
mhm,
So for me, early on, it was this uncomfortable feeling that I had internally. I didn't know what it was, but I recognized it from my earlier childhood experiences. Whenever there was like a lot of stress, tension, pressure in my community or neighborhood, it's like, this doesn't feel right.
mhm,
I need to move on to something else. We need to move on from this neighborhood, or we need to be in a better environment. When I started to have those feelings again professionally, I was like, all right, I need to talk to someone. I need to find a coach. I need to maybe change or shift gears in my career a little bit, because I know finance is for me, but is there something else that I can do because I have such a strong skill set? I can't see how I can apply it to someplace else. So
Yeah.
I think what many finance professionals encounter is feeling maybe stagnant because they can't do anything else because they work so hard to build their career to where it is today. And why walk away from that? You'd be a fool to leave this firm or this part of the industry. And it's, in my mind, not really leaving. It's just evolving, allowing
Mhm.
yourself to step into something else that fills you with purpose and meaning.
Yeah. I mean, we're definitely going deep here, but uh, I think it's interesting because when I hear you talk, the one word that comes to mind is also burnout. I've seen many people burn
Mm,
out around me
mhm,
in finance. And the thing about burnout is that it's not really always loud. It's not like
mhm.
a collapse. For many people, it's just numbness. And it's a
Yeah.
quiet drift away from that meaning that you were alluding
Mhm.
to. Um, and I have a question for you specifically about burnout. Do you think there's like a hidden burnout crisis, not at the junior level, but at the mid to senior levels in finance?
I think I've been reading more about is it quiet cracking? You're just meaning you've heard of the quiet quitting phenomenon. People just like
Yeah.
not doing work. They show up every day but don't do anything, which is terrible. Which is a terrible thing to do. You show up, you should be working. But
Mm,
there's these high performers who show up on the outside. Everything seems like they're firing on all cylinders. They're able to achieve levels of success. But on the inside, they're like cracking on the inside. They call it quiet cracking. I just
mhm,
read about this recently. It's been in the Wall Street Journal and other news outlets. And so, yes, I think I don't know if it's a crisis, but I know a lot of people are experiencing this. There are points in my career where I felt that way, and the fact that it's being picked up in places like the Wall Street Journal lets me know, okay, this is a thing. And I think it goes back to purpose and alignment. And you can create the purpose and alignment even if you're in a position where you're not feeling it. I think if you have a great manager, you're able to talk to them about these things
mhm,
in a way that doesn't put your career and your position at risk. And you're able to maybe craft something that is more meaningful, maybe something that sparks that alignment. If you have a tough manager that says, listen, put your head down, get to work and grind. This is how I did it. This is what you should be doing. Maybe that's a sign, or if you don't even feel comfortable going to your manager, those are probably indications that um, there are better places for your talents. I'm not suggesting anyone get up and quit because we have real responsibilities. We have a real, commitment to the work that we're doing, but the people who need us to be working, whether it be family or friends. But we owe it to ourselves to listen to those feelings that we have inside because life is so short.
yeah.
And the worst thing to do is be at the end of your career and look back and think, I should have made that switch, or I should have tried that thing, or I should have been more vocal, or I should have just tried more. I don't want that to happen to me.
Mm,
And so I've been much more intentional about the types of career decisions that I've made to make sure that I'm always living with alignment and purpose. And I'm trying to spread the gospel. So that's why this conversation is important to me,
mm,
especially within the finance industry. I think we owe it to ourselves. Yes, be a great teammate, work as hard as you can, deliver excellent work product, continue to be a high performer. But at the end of the day, when your career is said and done, what is it that you want to have accomplished? How do
yeah.
you want your friends and family to remember you?
Mm. Yeah, that's something that I like to that a mental exercise that I like to do very often. Like once everything is said and done and you're like 100
Mm-hmm.
years old and you look back, what will my regrets be?
Right.
And that often helps to choose when I'm hesitating between different things. You're coaching um, a lot of people, and I guess one of the big topics that comes in your sessions has to do with pain.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that you sit across clients carrying all sorts of hidden weights, the regrets we were just talking about, the burnouts that we were just talking about, but also identity losses. I mean, you name it.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess pain is part of everyone's professional story.
Mm-hmm.
Um, How do you help people move through pain instead of going around it?
I don't yeah, that is such a heavy one because I've certainly experienced pain and loss. So I don't have a one size fits all answer. I share with my clients and others, friends, whoever needs to hear it, how I've handled pain and
Hmm.
loss, but it doesn't mean like this is the way that everyone should. I think um, professional help is always important if you need that. That's like something that goes beyond executive coaching. But
Hmm.
for me, I talked about losing my mom.
Mm.
I was in the early stages of my career working in investment banking. So 80, 90, 100 hours a week. And she was gone suddenly. She was fine, and then she was gone. We took her to the hospital July 3rd, went to visit her on July 4th, and she died right in front of me. And so that was a very traumatic experience. I took time off work, which it felt like the time I took was certainly not enough to grieve, but I know there was always this behind the scenes pressure. No one was pressuring me to come back, but you know what it's like in that type of industry. And so I got back to work, took some time off, went back to the office. That turned out to be exactly what I needed at the time. I thought I just wanted more time off. Um, I needed something to occupy my thoughts.
Hmm.
And at the time, I was, so yeah, we lived at home together, me, my younger sister, and my mom. My sister was 17. She was going into her final year in high school, getting ready for college. And so for us to be home and not have mom, that was troubling for both of us. We're both going through this experience together. And so we both of us, we threw ourselves into work. She for her high school studies and preparing for college, me into my full-time responsibilities. In some ways, that helped us just get into a pattern. We would mourn when we needed to. Um, but that busyness, there are many things you can drown your pain and sorrows in. I'm not saying you should do that with work, but this felt like a somewhat of a healthier alternative to just be busy again, to be back in the rhythm. I signed up for the CFA exam level one that year, like so 2000. This is 2009. I should not have done that because I just wasn't mentally ready. But I felt like I was searching for something. I didn't have my
Hmm.
mom. That was a huge void, and so we were able to make it through. I went to business school. My sister got to college, and like things progressed. We were able to persevere through that very difficult time because we knew my mom would say things like this all the time. Never give up on your dreams. Just keep going, no matter what happens. And I would hear her words speaking back to me. And we needed more time to grieve, and we continue to do that to this day. Like when July 4th comes around, it's not the same holiday for me that it is for everyone else.
Mm.
Um, but having something to work towards was a way for me to honor her memory because I know she would want her kids to do well. And we both continue to achieve positive things in life. My sister finished college. She went on to do grad school herself. I finished my MBA, got my CFA, all these things. Um, but having something that you can honor, if it's losing a person or it might be a health challenge, whatever those things are, we can't give up because we're still in the fight. And
Mm.
so that spirit, that human drive to want to do better, no matter how difficult things seem, I think I help to explain that type of mindset and thinking to my clients. But it's not easy, Ignacio. I don't have a great answer for everyone, but it's just that hope and human spirit. Don't lose it. Even on the darkest days, if you can just hold on long enough to see the next day through, things will eventually start to get better. You need the right support in place. It just doesn't magically get better overnight.
Mm.
But for me, going through that was the most difficult period in my life. There'll be other challenges for sure, but getting through that was trying to reclaim a sense of just a normal, what does a normal day look like? Okay, I get up, go to work, help my sister with school. And I would just do that every day while I was still processing the loss of my mom.
Wow. Um, Let me tell you, your mom and your dad would be incredibly proud of you, and
Yeah.
it's super impressive that you managed to accomplish everything you did, and that you helped your sister make it through high school and college. It's
Mm-hmm.
absolutely amazing. And I love this concept of hustling becoming a healing
Mm-hmm.
a healing thing in itself. And definitely something that prevents you from going into more negative
Mm-hmm.
paths or ways of thinking. So, but yeah, like, man, amazing! Congratulations! I have no other
It's,
words. And you talked about something, the CFA. I mean, so we need to pause here for a second because Chris has kind of his own journey here with the CFA a certificate. He became viral on LinkedIn a while back because he shared his story. Can you tell our listeners
oh man.
exactly how this whole thing went for you? Because it was clearly not the regular CFA adventure. Let's put it that way, and definitely
I,
shows your grind and your hustling, I guess.
I'm still scratching my head. Listen, first of all, I'm not. I can't say that today. This is not true. But before I started posting online, I did not have an online presence. I wasn't active on social media. I started posting on LinkedIn. It's actually my 1 year anniversary. Last September,
Mm,
Labor Day. Last Labor Day was my first ever LinkedIn post. I started posting because at my last job, I had an executive coach. And we went through this coaching experience that I really enjoyed. That's how I started thinking more professionally about coaching. And I told her, I'm comfortable on stage. You can put me in front of executives. That's not a problem, but I'm never seeking the spotlight. I'm not trying to like be in that position. She said something to me, Ignacio, completely blew my mind. I'm still processing it.
mm,
But she said, Chris, stop worrying about the spotlight and step into your light.
mm,
And I was like, that sounds deep. What does that even mean? But I started to think about it. I'm thinking of what I view the quote unquote spotlight to be, but I am limiting myself in ways that is really preventing me from helping others. And so she didn't say go post on LinkedIn, but that's what I viewed. I said, I have all these stories, these ideas in my mind. My wife has been telling me to write things down more as well.
mm,
I started writing in my journal because of like things that my wife would say to me, you should write this down.
mm.
And I decided one day, let me post this online. So I started with one. Um, and then one day I just thought I was writing it literally. I have my journal right here. I keep it close. So every LinkedIn post, every newsletter, every essay, it starts as a journal entry. And one day I was thinking about failure. I told you I started the CFA 2009 right after my mom passed. It was not the right time to study, but I failed level one the first time. I ended up failing every level of the CFA. It took me 5 long years to just grind through it. And the
Mm,
worst part with the CFA, they will show you the score report. They show you how close or how far you are from
mm,
passing. So I was always just that close. It's like, man, if I study maybe an extra week or two, I don't know, maybe I would have passed.
mm,
And every level was like that. I had to repeat every level being that close to passing, but it was like confirmation, knowing that I'm on the right track. I'm right there. Let me just come back again. So it's like getting up off the floor every time you've been knocked down. So I had a journal entry about failure, about getting back up. I talked maybe about some other experiences I had. People would, I've heard others say, I've cleared every level of the CFA on the first try, which I respect those people because I know how hard the CFA exam is. But even after I passed the CFA, in the back of my mind, this imposter syndrome is like, well, I didn't pass on every level on the first try. Maybe it's not as good. So all these things in my mind that was swirling, I just decided to write about it. I posted it on LinkedIn. I'm at work later on in the afternoon. My wife says, hey, look at your LinkedIn. And it's blowing up.
bananas.
It's gone viral at this point. I didn't know, I didn't know what to expect. I'm talking about a nerd finance exam. Like who cares about that? But it helped the response, the messages I received, it helped me realize, oh, Chris, I am feeling the same way. Thank you for sharing that because we always see the success. I was just sharing a real experience about how much it sucked to have to repeat, but I'm going to keep coming back. And like, that's the important thing. We talked about dealing with loss. We talked about failure, all of these things. I think it's that human drive, that human spirit to just keep coming back. And if you try hard enough, again, with the right guidance and coaching, I hired a CFA coach. He's like, what am I doing wrong? We got through the exam finally. And then I think back then, she was my girlfriend at the time. She's my wife now. She was very patient with me, watching me study those early morning, late nights. And she picked me up from level 3 the last time. And we knew no matter what, she was ready to get engaged and married. I was as well, but she's like, this is it, right? I was like, that's it. I think I passed. And then we got married a few months later.
Oh my God. I love this story. I mean, for so many reasons, but I feel it perfectly encapsulates how painful the journey is, but how, um, yeah, how, if you put in the reps and you grind and you believe in yourself like you did, you can make it even after failing each single level. I mean, most people would
Mm-hmm.
just give up, but you didn't, and you went through. And I also love how you got married right afterwards. You were like,
Right
what am I
away.
gonna
Yeah, we
do?
did.
What am I gonna do with all this free time now?
I
Oh,
have all
let's
this
just
free
get
time.
married. Let's make some babies.
Let's get married and have kids. We got too much free time now.
Exactly.
So that's literally what we did.
Oh man, gosh, amazing story. And by the way, if you're not following Chris on LinkedIn, please do. He's making super amazing posts on a regular basis.
Oh,
I
thank
wish
you.
you posted more. I mean, I know. I mean, now that I heard your process, I know it's something you do part of a journaling, I guess, journey
Mm-hmm.
too. But yeah, I love your posts. You should keep them
Oh,
coming.
thank you. Well,
Um,
Ignacio, you're a great inspiration because your content is amazing. I think you started posting these stories, these background um, pictures of what people were going through, famous people in history. And so I just love your approach. And so you inspire me to be better in terms of a content creation. So I'll
Appreciate it.
try to get to, I do about 1 time a week. I try to get to 2 times a week if I can, but you're a great inspiration in that regard.
I appreciate that. But my stuff is not nearly as good as yours. So, but it means a lot coming from you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have a couple of questions regarding your impact investing job. I
Yep.
think
Mm-hmm.
you talked briefly about it at the beginning, and it's interesting to see how your own journey and your childhood brought you there, and now I can clearly
Mm-hmm.
see the connection. Uh, but I have a question about building trust in these undeserved communities you're working with.
Mm-hmm.
So what does it really take to build trust with these people you're trying to help,
Mm-hmm.
that have every reason to be skeptical about
Right.
capitalism, as you were saying at the beginning, and of finance in general? Hey there, quick ad break. Do you work in the finance industry and have a genuinely interesting story to share? I'm always on the hunt for great guests who bring raw, unfiltered insights to the table. Or maybe you know someone with a story worth telling? Please put us in touch. You can reach out to me directly via LinkedIn. I'd love to hear from you. And now, back to the show.
Yeah. This means everything, Ignacio. And I think the biggest thing, how you build trust is through inclusion. And what do I mean by that?
Hmm.
I can't sit in an ivory tower as a capital allocator and say, oh, I see your problem is you don't have enough money. Here, we're just going to throw money at the problem and you should be fine now because you have capital. It's making sure that these communities, these structures, that community voice has a seat at the table throughout the process.
Hmm.
And I know that to be true because I'm from the community. I'm from the neighborhood. I'm from a underserved area. And you build trust through just a long-term steady commitment, but making sure that community voice is heard. That's the approach we take at Heron when we are making a grant or thinking about a direct community investment. It's through the lens of making sure community has a place at the table to help us steer the capital because
Hmm.
they know what is best for the community environment. It's just a lack of resources. Maybe there's some technical understanding that needs to be shared within the community as well, meaning like finance models or whatever the technical assistance might need to be. But when you marry those two things together and make sure that the community voice is being well heard and implemented, I think
Mm-hmm.
this goes a long way. And so that's our approach. We're long-term investors as well. But we're also different than a traditional, finance shop because we are, part philanthropy. We have different motivations, different expectations. We expect a positive return on capital. We are not profit maximization. We're impact maximization. So that is the focus. I expect also a fair level of return for whatever type of risk profile I'm taking, but it's all through the lens of making sure that the community is at the center of the investment process. And so long as that doesn't change, if that remains consistent, win, lose, or draw, some investments are not going to work out. It's impossible to bat 1,000.
Hmm.
I think if you bat 300, you're going to make several $100 million in terms of having a baseball contract. It's amazing to see how statistics play out in sports in terms of what level of excellence is required. Like you need to be a 30% batter to be an
Hmm.
excellent baseball player. But from a professional standpoint, we think we need to be perfect. We think we need to be excellent at all times. It's just changing our view and perspective. So from an investment standpoint, we take a holistic approach to the way we are implementing our impact strategies, but we do impact investing alongside grants, what
Hmm.
we call non-returning investments into a community. We know we're not going to get the capital back, but it is a grant that will have a positive social return to this community, to this environment.
And along your career as an impact investor, what's the investment you're the proudest of? Not because of the performance, but maybe because of the human story behind it.
Oh wow, there are many that we have contributed to, but there's something we did with a small business lending program where we helped to set up a dedicated lending fund in my previous role
Hmm.
where it hadn't been done at this type of asset manager before. So it wasn't an innovative structure for the market as a whole, but it was innovative that it was an example of this large asset manager doing something that hadn't been tried before and getting real results in terms of funding small businesses that weren't getting institutional level capital. So I'm very happy for that work that we've done, but there's still so much more that it's a double-edged sword because I can be happy and proud of the contributions that my teams have made in the past, but there's still when I look out to the horizon and see how much work still remains, it's I feel good, but recognize the amount of work that still has to get done to make sure we're getting capital to flow. Small business is the lifeblood of America.
Hmm.
And if we're not getting capital to these entrepreneurs, in a way that is consistent. We get a lot of funding for these venture-backed unicorns, which is great. That needs to happen too. But the mom and pop shops that are employing people at a local level, especially in rural areas, they need funding. And so I'm trying to think through ways that we can leverage the capital markets in a way that maybe distributes risk in a diversified way, but gets the capital to flow where it's most needed.
And how do you do that with while scaling? Because I mean, in your particular case, you went from, I guess, small consulting gigs at the beginning to managing billions now. Uh, and scale sometimes dilutes meaning because at the
Hmm.
end, I guess it's not only about purpose anymore. It's a lot about the processes. How do you allocate that money?
Hmm.
I mean, when we're talking about so many people involved, so many AUM and so on, you get lost into those little details, important
Hmm.
details, but there's like a lot of stuff going on. How do you stay connected to the why as your portfolio has grown bigger?
Yeah, so scale is something you hear all the time in finance, in business in general, by and
Mm,
large. And I think, especially with impact investing, yes, we need this to scale and we need it to be done quickly because there's a huge need and these gaps are getting worse.
mhm,
But at the same time, we shouldn't fall into the scale trap when thinking about impact investing because if you can change one life, if you can change one small community, if you can show what is possible, then you start to see some beneficial flywheel effects. Maybe that you can bring in other investors if you have something to show and prove. And so sometimes in previous experiences, we got caught up in the scale trap. It's like, how do we get this bigger and bigger and bigger? Let's grow. It's like, yes, in
mhm,
time, but look at the positive impacts we're having with a small contribution to this one area.
hmm.
So you need it to scale for business purposes, for business reasons, to make sure the capital gets attracted to this area. But there's these opposite forces at play because sometimes it needs to be a small investment to prove out the thesis. And you need time for that investment to bear fruit. So there's this constant tension that I'm well aware of, but I want to take a balanced approach. And in terms of you asked about like chasing more investment opportunities, or what was the second part there?
Yeah, like how to stay connected to your why,
Stay connected.
basically.
Yeah, it goes back to leadership. It goes back to mission. And so at Heron, we're very clear on our mission. It's to support persistently poor rural areas across the US. And what does that look like? It means me traveling to places like Alabama, like Tennessee, like rural places that might not be getting the capital flows from like a place like New York might be getting, for example.
Hmm.
So it's being connected to the community, understanding what our purpose and mission is. That is how I stay connected to the why. It's also part of who I am, my background story. I'm not from rural America. I'm from urban America, but the challenges are quite similar. They're different
Yeah.
challenges, but I know what it means to be from an area that's not getting capital flows. And so connecting your personal experiences or things that you care about to what you're doing professionally, I feel like that's nirvana. If you're able to do that, that is like the holy grail. I'm very fortunate and blessed that I've been able to achieve that. What I try to do through my coaching practice is to help people understand there is a way. It takes hard effort. It takes planning. It might be a long-term journey. I've had a very long career arc, but it is possible to find this alignment so that you always feel connected to your purpose and the why.
Yeah. What you're interested by, what you're good at, and where you can really contribute.
Mm-hmm.
But thanks for sharing that. I was particularly curious about that because I guess it's so hard to put all of that money to work and
Yep.
really stay close to the projects at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting close to the end of the conversation, so I need to be very selective with my last few questions. But there's one I really want to ask. Maybe we're gonna now turn to the section of advice for the younger
Okay.
lads and the people starting their career.
Yep.
One I'm curious about is I mean, it's a little bit linked to your coaching practice, but this athlete mindset,
Mm.
because you've said in the past that you're an athlete, not maybe by sport, but by your mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a few things like visualization, resilience, adaptability, a lot of
Mm.
traits that pro athletes are using. Can you can you tell us what are those core elements of an athletic mindset and how
Mm.
we finance professionals and me specifically, like how could I use that to get better at my job and have a better career?
Yeah, I love this question because you're absolutely right. Like what are athletes doing that we can take for ourselves?
Hmm.
And I've been stuck because I like athletics and sports as a fan. Like I said, I haven't done it in a traditional sense myself. And there's something I call MVP. We know what an MVP is, the most valuable player.
Hmm.
I've taken a twist to that. I call it movement, visualization, and planning. And what the hell does that mean, Chris? Whatever you're trying to pursue in your career or whatever you are trying to achieve, it could be the CFA exam, it could be getting promoted. You have to move. You cannot achieve success from being stationary, from doing the same thing and not trying, not pushing yourself. So that's where the movement comes in. That's what I mean by having some positive forward momentum to achieve that thing, whatever it is. So move towards that goal, have some movement, but you also need to visualize, meaning you need to see yourself achieving the thing.
Yeah.
Professional athletes oftentimes you'll hear people say, well, I've taken this shot 1,000 times in practice, but I also visualize in my mind. You need to visualize and see yourself achieve. So I knew I was going to get the CFA charter. Like there was no stopping me. I wanted to do it a lot sooner than I did. I took the long-term plan, but I saw myself being on a Zoom call with the charter hanging out behind me. Like I visualized this.
You saw this call.
I'm
You
going to have
saw
my
this
charter
call.
in the background on the wall. So, but seriously, like you need to see yourself achieving the thing. So movement, visualization, and then a plan. You can have all this movement, you can visualize, but if you are not directing it in the right way or you don't have a solid plan in place, this is where mentorship, coaching, talking to people help. Every professional athlete, there is a head coach, but every professional athlete has their own positional coach, someone who's working with them on a specific craft. They also have a dietitian, physical therapy. They have coaches supporting their greatness. And so having a plan is the final part of this MVP framework, becoming the MVP of your own life. Move, visualize, have a plan in place. I think that this is something that I stumbled into over the years. I realized, 20 years plus into my career, I realized I needed all these elements. But when I'm talking to my coaching clients, I walk them through this framework just to have a basis in terms of how they're going to achieve that level of success. And
Mhm.
so I would tell young people starting out, do use this framework or just look to a professional athlete and see what they're doing. They're training, they're working hard, they're recovering, and they're getting coaching. And if you do those things in your professional pursuits, you would far exceed all expectations.
Which kind of answered my last question for you. Is my usually my closing question. But if you could give one piece of advice to someone starting today, or you could talk to Chris on his first day in the finance industry a few years ago, what would you tell him? Would it be this MVP framework or something else?
I would say go for it. I was so nervous back then. I would tell younger people now just to go for it. You've arrived. You've made it to that entry level position. Or maybe you are a few years in and you're not quite sure of the next steps, or maybe you're trying to break into the industry, but just go for it.
Mhm.
Just try. Yes, you need a plan. You need all these things in place, but it starts with that just belief in yourself. So just going for it, trusting yourself that if you have this idea in your mind of where you want to see yourself, where you want to be, the type of career you want to have, go for it. And don't let outside opinion, noise, fears get in your way, because you really don't fail unless you stop trying. Your path can be a lot longer. It can take several years to get to ultimately where you want to be, is my case with the CFA exam. But if you just go for it, get, again, the support and help you need. If you go for it and don't stop, you will make it there. And I know that to be true.
I think a quote came to mind that I think comes from MJ. I'm not sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't wasn't him who said, "You will miss 100% of the shots you don't take."
That's right. Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right.
So go for it. No,
Got to go for it.
I 100% agree with you. Go for it, but with a caveat. Go for it, but go for it only if you're truly passionate about it. Don't
Yes.
go for it
Yes.
for the wrong reasons.
hmm
Find It's okay to take some time, but try to find the one thing you feel passionate about, because that's what will
Yes.
keep you going over the long term. And when you face adversity, will help you to move forward. But yeah, once you find that, just go for it. And if you put in the reps, the passion, and the work, the results will eventually show
hmm
up. At least that's the way I want to think about it, and
Yep.
what I believe. Chris, this has been absolutely amazing. Wow. Oh my God. I feel like I've done a little
uh,
bit of coaching indirectly here, like I'm gonna listen to this episode like 2 or 3 times, taking
oh
proper
my goodness.
notes. But yeah, I can see definitely you know what you're talking about. This conversation has been absolutely incredible. I hope the listeners enjoyed it as much as I did. I know I've taken a lot from it. So I really appreciate your time. I want to
Thank
congratulate
you.
you again for both your journey and what you're doing right now with your impact investing job. For those of you again that don't know what Heron is doing, please go and check their website out. And most importantly, also go and check out Chris's website and LinkedIn page, because as I said, he's posting a lot of interesting things. Chris, thank you so much for your time. You have a buddy here on the other side of the pond
Yeah.
in Switzerland, and I wish you all the best and the best of luck for the future investing projects at Heron, with your coaching activity, and with all your endeavors.
Ignacio, again, thank you so much for having me. I've been a big fan of yours for your time on LinkedIn, but just to sit down and chat with you, it's been very worthwhile, very humbling. So thank you again for having me, and look forward to seeing what you have in store next.
The Blunt Dollar is written, produced, hosted, and edited by me, Ignacio Ramirez. Everything you hear, concept, script, sound design, and production, comes straight from my desk, and occasionally my kitchen table. Thank you so much for listening, and join me in the next episode of The Blunt Dollar for more raw, honest finance conversations.